Welcome back, boys. Today I have another tier list video for you guys, and today we are reviewing the excellent, the dashing Manchester United squad. Yeah, yeah. So here are the tiers that I've set: goats, world class, good, meh, dead, windbag, and Phil Jones. So let's begin from the starting. So the first player we have in this Manchester United squad as of now is Phil Jones, and obviously we know where he's going as the goats. The only player besides David De Gea to have a Premier League championship to his name. Of course, he's a fucking goat. Then next we have Jaden Sancho, who is not a Manchester United player here. Therefore, he is in the Phil Jones category because if he what has he done for United? Where was he? Huh? Huh? Has he even played for United? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's where he belongs. Then the next player we have is Andres Pereira, who is an absolute windbag. Like, he's been given ample time overseas and at United, and he's not matured. He's absolute ass. So that's where he is. Another one of these is Diago Dallo. He's absolutely ass when given the opportunity. Okay, maybe he's not that ass, not as ass as Andres Pereira, and definitely hasn't been given the same amount of opportunity. But whatever little we see of him, we are not convinced. The Manchester United fans are not convinced. The opposition fans aren't convinced. There is much debate about Wan Bissaka, so he just doesn't. He's better going forward than he is defending. Let's just say that. Timothy Fosu Mensah. I think he's kind of, he's kind of dead, dog. His career at Manchester United died long ago. He only replaced Luke Shaw occasionally and Brandon Williams and Aaron Wan-Bissaka because Manchester United did not have any depth to their squad. That's the only reason he played after 1,000 days of not playing for Manchester United. And I don't think there's much coming back from that unless he is an absolute, world class late bloomer, which doesn't seem to be the case. Jesse Lingard, J Links. Unfortunately, he too, I think, is dead. And here's why. Like, I don't need to tell you why because everybody knows he's had like 2 assists and 1 goal in like 2 years total. About like 3 years ago, when he was playing under Jose Mourinho, I would have placed him in good, not world class. Definitely in good. I would have been like, yeah, he's a great player. He does his job. He actually scored back then, but ever since then he's just been downhill. So I think his career at Manchester United is also dead. But there was a good player in him. There was a decent player in him, which isn't there anymore. Juan Mata, next player. I know you guys can't see his face probably, but that's Juan Mata. I think he's meh simply because of his age, his pace, his physicality. Uh, when he was younger, he was just he. I personally I really like to see him play because of his vision and his creativity, but I don't think there is a spot for Mata at Manchester United anymore. So I think this is also probably his last year, and he is kind of meh now, simply because of his lack of involvement. Next player is Odion Igalo, and I know Manchester United fans are gonna crucify me because of how good he has been, but I think Odion Igalo is again a meh player, and I don't think that's necessarily that bad of a thing, but he's definitely not a good player. I mean, we saw him at Watford. He did not do a whole lot there in his last season. He's been great for United, don't get me wrong. He's done the job better than most players would have. But is in terms of the season coming up, do I see him uh, as a player that's going to feature a lot more? No, I think his involvement with the first team is almost over. Maybe towards the end of December we'll see it, but I don't think he's going to play a lot of games. I think it's his Manchester United career is unfortunately over. As much as I love him, he's just a meh player, and there's nothing wrong with that. He's still a perfectly good professional. Luke Shaw. I think Luke Shaw too is kind of meh. We really haven't seen convincing enough football from Luke Shaw. He's defensively pretty solid. At least he was last season. Going forward, he just doesn't have the work rate, so he's meh. Brandon Williams, he's the opposite of Luke Shaw. He has the work rate to go forward, but when it comes to defensive abilities, he's kind of lacking. Uh, Maybe 10 years ago, he would have been a great left back or a right back, but now having a a right-footed left back along with Rashford who also cuts in, I don't know, he's kind of meh. Fred, I would say Fred is good because of how his performances have been this season. He definitely does not justify the 54 million price tag, especially from his first season at Manchester United. I think that was horrible to watch. But he's a decent player when playing regularly. When he's not playing regularly, he's kind of ass. Dan James started off strong, but really hasn't shown anything much towards later half of the season. He started off very well. I was really happy for him, but he's been kind of ass as well. And that's Tuanzebe. I know you guys can't see properly. I would say Tuanzebe as well is meh. Why? Because he did have a good season with Aston Villa in the championship, but as soon as the step up happened, as soon as his opportunity arose, he kind of got injured. So we really haven't seen enough. I think there's a player that is good and maybe perhaps even world class there, but at the moment he's kind of meh till the time we see more of him. Aaron Wan-Bissaka. I think Aaron Wan-Bissaka is good. And I would have placed him in world class if you just consider his pre-lockdown performances. He's a world class player, but after the lockdown, he really faded off, noticeably faded off. Victor Lindelof, the Swedish mad lad, the Iceman. I think he too is just a good player. I think he walks into most teams in the Premier League as a first choice player, but I don't think he's world class. Unfortunately, I think he's a great player, great squad player, and I think a lot of people disrespect him. I mean, he was the only player in Premier League to not get dribbled past last season. And I know, oh, that doesn't matter. That will be the argument of most people. But the season before that, the player that hadn't got dribbled past was Van Dijk. And we saw how, we all know, and we see week in, week out how good Van Dijk is. And I think just because he does not have such a commanding role in the Manchester United defense, he's kind of disrespected. Most people would say he's meh, but he's really not. He's pretty fucking good. Nemanja Matic. I think Nemanja Matic is again a good player. He has been world class at times, but right now I think he's just good. His consistency is an issue. When he's overplayed, he becomes a meh, even deadwood player sometimes. But he's not bad. He's not a bad player. I think he's a good player. Maybe not world class at the moment. Henderson. Again, he's won 2 PFA Player of the Years for his, no, not PFA, 2 Club Player of the Years in the last 2 seasons that he has played out on loan. So I think there's a world class player there in the future, but right now he's just a good player. Eric Bailly. I think Eric Bailly again is good, and here's why. We have seen Eric Bailly perform. You could say Tuanzebe and Eric Bailly are essentially the same person, but we have actually seen Eric Bailly play well under Jose Mourinho, perform at the top level for a decently long period of time, but then injuries hit. And we all know how Eric Bailly plays, the absolute madman that he is. You know, he's just a good player. Scott McTominay started the season very strong. Really was a great option in the midfield. as somebody who could run, who could cover other players. But right now he's kind of faded off at the end of the season as well. He's not going to get a lot more game time. I think he's going to be a solid squad player this season. So I've placed him in there. The latest signing, Van de Beek. I think he too is he's kind of on the edge. He's halfway good, halfway meh, because he's had some decent seasons. So I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm gonna place him in good. He's had some decent seasons stats wise, and I like how he tackles a lot. Like his diving tackles are really fucking good, pretty accurate as well. So I think United will benefit with a diving CDM because Pogba doesn't diving tackles. Uh, Nemanja Matic doesn't dive. Fred doesn't dive. Scott McTominay does not dive. He, on the other hand, does dive. Mason Greenwood. Now I know this is going to be very controversial. Now a lot of people will argue, even opposition fans will argue that he's world class. But I still feel there's a little he definitely has the skill set for world class. He is maybe even GOAT perhaps in a few years. But right now it was his first full season. You could say maybe not even full season. Uh, but he did play the second most games for United, and he scored 17 goals, which is insane. And I don't remember the assists, but I think he's a great player. He's more towards world class than he is towards meh. We all know that. But unfortunately, he's still not world class. Now, let's go to Pogba. Because this is again a controversial one. I think Pogba is a fucking goat. I really think so. Pogba Pogba is a absolute mad lad winner. He's a Giga Chad in midfield. The only reason he has not performed is because he has had no support over the years. I genuinely believe you place him in a good midfield. We saw how good he is at Juventus. We have seen him in the French squad, and I think he's gonna continue to be as good as he is right now. So I'm gonna place him there in goats because I think he will, especially with the extension, I think he will be crucial to United's title challenge in the upcoming years. Harry Maguire. Harry Maguire, I know Harry Maguire has been, that player which has driven a lot of controversy, but he is world class. Whether you like it or not, whether you're a Manchester United fan or not, we all know Harry Maguire walks into every defense. You could say there are better players than him statistically and maybe even on the pitch in terms of performances, but the overall package that Harry Maguire is, you every top six team would take this guy in their midfield. Let's talk about it, okay? Liverpool, sorry, in their defense, Liverpool. Yeah, Joe Gomez versus Harry Maguire. I think the answer is clear. Chelsea, Rudiger and Christensen. Yeah, I think the answer is clear. Spurs, Davinson Sanchez and with Tongan slash who's that guy? Toby. I think you guys are taking him. Even Man City would benefit with him massively, and I think he's world class. I know he has not justified the 80 million, uh, buy, but if you remove the price tag, everybody knows there's a world class player in there. Everybody knows. And he's shown it at Leicester and at United this season by improving the Manchester United team significantly. Significantly in terms of defensive abilities. Anthony Martial. I think Anthony Martial has shown that he's world class this season. If you had told me last season, I would have probably placed him in May. Not going to lie, because he was really inconsistent. But right now, he has shown that he's world class, scoring those 23, 24 goals. And I think that's insane. He's only going to improve. His link up play is insane, so much better. His work rates have increased. He's looking like a proper centre forward. Proper centre forward. David De Gea, the next guy. I think this is also going to be a controversial one, but I still think he's world class. He's more towards good than he's towards GOAT at the moment because of his lackey performances. But the saves that this guy can make, no other keeper can make. No other keeper can make the saves that this guy makes. No one. You can argue all day, oh, he's not consistent anymore. Yes, he's not. But there's a reason he's there. Romero doesn't save the goals that he saves. Romero is a consistent keeper. He won't make mistakes like David makes, but the goals that David saves that are clear goals are insane. Anybody who's seen him for the past few seasons will know how good David De Gea is. Right now his form has not been the best. Maybe even for the last couple of years his form has not been the best. But even with not the best form, he's gone on to save a shit ton of shots, keep a shit ton of uh, clean sheets, and I think he's still world class, whether you like it or not. Marcus Rashford, again, one more world class player that has confirmed that he's world class this season. Towards the end of the season, he also faded off, but considering he was injured for 6 months, I think that was still a great performance. Uh, Plus a class act on and off the field, and I think he deserves to be called world class. At least right now, through his performances, through his efforts, I think he's earned it. Maybe last year I would have placed him in good, and the year before that in meh because he hadn't shown enough. But right now he has, and that's the honest truth. I think he's world class. He walks into most teams. He's part of that high scoring front three. You know, Bruno Fernandez. What an impact this guy has had. I think no one will argue that he's world class. People will argue, oh, he's not the best midfielder in Premier League, and I would say yes, you're 100% correct because of De Bruyne. And even after removing De Bruyne, you could argue with a few players, but I think he's definitely world class. His work rates above everything else. De Bruyne has clinical technique. Bruno Fernandes does not have that. Bruno Fernandes has his ability, his off the ball chasing, his on the ball movements, all of that. His willingness to take a risk. I think that's what makes him world class. Romero, the second keeper. Now this is going to be an extremely complicated one. But I think Romero is also world class. And here is my argument before you guys get your panties in a bunch. Romero has been the number one Argentinian goalkeeper for at least 4 years. You could even say 8 years on and off. He's insane. He's great. He's the best second keeper Manchester United or any team could have had. You check your teams and you're like, most Premier League teams will accept him as their number one. He's that good. Most Premier League teams, maybe not uh, Man City and Liverpool and United, but every other team I think he goes into. Maybe even Tottenham because of Lloris, but everybody else he walks into that team. He really does. And that was it, boys. If you liked the video, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, consider becoming a member. And let me know in the comment section what all hurt your feelings and what I was wrong about. Let me know. Hit me, boys. Bye bye. That's it for today, and I'll come up with a new video tomorrow because we are doing daily uploads. So stick around, hit that subscribe button. Bye bye.